It's Thursday. It's not 7 o'clock, but it's Thursday and it's 5 o'clock, whatever. And we're back. Week 10 of the NFL. Birds Blast of Kyle Quinn. Finally, it's been a hot minute since me and Kyle have had an opportunity to talk. We had some scheduling conflicts that we could not come to you before the last game of the season. Of course, you got the bye week. A lot has happened, Kyle Quinn. We got to talk about the Giants. We got to talk about the Packers. We got to talk about the trades and all that. And how you been?
I'm doing good, man. I didn't know it was possible for a football team to win the bye week, but I feel like the Eagles did just that with all the other NFC losses. You saw what happened with the Commanders, unfortunate quarterback injury. But pretty much every result that you could have wanted, if you're an Eagles fan here, went your way. So pretty successful bye week, if you ask me, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. The NFC really set the Eagles up for some success coming out of that bye week. Right now, if those of you that are keeping track at home, and we are here, you're going into week 10, and it's kind of a logjam up top of the NFC. Eagles are currently percentage points ahead of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers due to the head-to-head, both 6-2. But then you got Seattle right on their heels at 6-2. Then the 5-2-1 Packers at 4. The 6-2 Rams, but we have the tiebreaker against them. Then you got the 6-3 49ers. And right now, Kyle Quinn, if the season were to end today, Detroit Lions would be out of the playoffs as they're the 7th seed in this conference. So, yes, things did set up, but I guess a good first question for you. As we get ready for the second half officially for the Eagles, are they in the best position that you think they can be? And we're going to get into the trades. We're going to get into Brandon Graham. We're going to get into the last game and all that. But as you look at this team holistically, without giving you too much away about the trades, is this team in the best position it can be in heading down the stretch?
I mean, yeah, look, if I had told you, you look at the Eagles' schedule before the season, and we did, and we saw how tough it was, and we went over that nonstop. If I would have told you that by the bye week, they're 6-2, they're the number 1 seed currently in the NFC, and that they just made 3 trades to address needs on the defense, including one of them being Jalen Phillips, and we'll get into all of them. But if I would have told you that, and pretty much told you that, I mean, we can be honest about things. The NFC East is pretty much all but a wrap. Yeah. So the Eagles have essentially clinched a home playoff game already by week 10. So all things considered, I would say that's a pretty good result. Now, do you want to lose a game to the Giants? Never. You never want to do that. So that's really, I think that's the only real blemish, considering that the Broncos look like a pretty good team right about now. You have to you have to take that. I mean, look, they played some tough opponents and they've won games. Now they've looked, up and down, but it really feels like the last 2 games they played have been maybe the best 2 and trending upward in the right direction here. So 6-2, number 1 seed, you made all the trades. And you feel like the team might be starting to turn a corner a little bit. You got to feel good.
Well, I'm going to take a different look at it, as I tend to do. 2-2 over the last 4 games. That's not necessarily something to be very excited about. But yes, those 2 wins that they did have following 2 losses showed a little bit more of a sign of life from the offense, and that is, that's a very good thing. But I guess let's talk about some of the moves. So let's talk about the first one. Brandon Graham was coaxed out of retirement by Howie going into the Giants game. Decided to return on a 1-year deal. Kyle, listen, the situation with the defense, and I definitely want to explore the whole offseason plan a little bit later on in this show. But the moves that Howie has made over the last 10 days tells you that his plan didn't work. Whatever that plan was, to let all those contributors walk away and replace them with the people or types of people that he replaced them with, obviously has not worked. And now you bring up Brandon Graham. Kyle, I mean, what do you think Brandon Graham can do for this team? Is it more of a veteran presence, a leadership presence, or do you actually think he can do something on the field for them?
Yeah, look, I mean, the Brandon Graham move in a vacuum is just whatever. Really what you're looking for after the Brandon Graham thing is that the only move they make at defensive end? We now know that that's not the only move they made at defensive end. So it's fine. Like you can't be hurt by bringing in Brandon Graham. If he's not productive, then it's the same as if you didn't sign Brandon Graham at all. Right. But now you have the potential of a guy who might, if he gets 3 sacks at the end of by the end of the season, that's, I'll say, a smashing success, considering what you're doing. Getting a guy who didn't go through an off-season program, is been out of retirement, stuff like that. So it's fine as long as you end up going to get another defensive end. And look, yeah, I mean, look, if you want to grade the entire season that Howie Roseman's had in totality, you're probably going C, D, right? It hasn't been good. But the beauty of what we have with our general manager here is that he doesn't double down and say, look,
God.
these moves that I made are going to work. Just watch and wait. They'll work. No, instead of sitting on his hands, he went and tried to address them. Like, would you rather him sit there and say, well, I know Aziz Ojolari and Josh Uche didn't work, but just you wait. Or would you rather him go out and try and get a Jalen Phillips? Or would you rather him try, like same thing with the cornerback position. So like I agree with you. And these moves, we'll see what they end up being. But like, this is why I think, you have to learn to appreciate a little bit what we have here, because there's other teams out there that I mean, they don't have this. Like, look at the Steelers right now. Look at look at the freaking Cowboys, by the way, who for some ungodly reason traded first round picks that they might need to replace their quarterback eventually, and get guys that are maybe going to equate to the guy that they just let walk out the door in the offseason. So, I just think sometimes it's worth having a little bit of perspective here.
No, I get it. And kind of, you just sort of reminded me of something. Well, all in sincerity, the tragedies that occurred this morning with defensive end from the Cowboys, Marshawn Keelan. All thoughts and prayers are out to that family and the Cowboy organization. That's, sports and life should never collide like that. So I want to express our deepest sorrow there. All right, let's talk about the DBs. Jair Alexander, who's been a healthy scratch pretty much since week 5 for the Green Bay Packers. He's coming in to sort of rebuild what we already know to be a very light and not very good defensive backfield situation, along with Michael Carter II coming from the Jets, who, when healthy, is a very stable player and a very good player. He's also a slot guy, which also brought all kinds of, removing Cooper DeJean out wide. Let's talk about the DBs, and let's talk about the impact of these two players and how you see how they're going to work their way into the Eagle rotation for the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jair Alexander, you pretty much spelled it out without saying it. He looked like he was cooked in Baltimore. I mean, being a healthy scratch there is no good. The interesting thing about him is he's not like at fall off a cliff age. He's only 28, which is weird. It's weird to say when you look at a guy like that. Now, I mean, I think what the Eagles did with the secondary is you throw so many darts, maybe one of them hits a bullseye. What they have right now is they have options. They can see if Michael Carter fits into the slot, and then they move Cooper outside. They can see if that works, or they can see if Jair Alexander can actually play. If Christian Parker, who I think is a really good defensive backs coach, by the way, can squeeze one last drop out of Jair Alexander. Those are the things that you kind of hope. I wouldn't say I expect it. We'll see. But I do like the fact that they took flyers on these guys and gave up basically next to nothing to do that. You swap picks for these guys. You didn't even really lose a draft pick. You just move back a few spots, and you got some guys off of other teams' scrap heaps. And look, I mean, the Michael Carter guy, we'll see. Sometimes it's kind of like, and I equate it to almost like the like in baseball with the White Sox situation. Like, you get a guy off of Chicago, and then you find that maybe he was just going through the motions over there. Like Andrew Vaughn did in Milwaukee once he left Chicago. So maybe you sort of hope that that's a thing that you can get out of Michael Carter now that he's left the Jets and he's on an actual winning organization, and maybe breathe new life into him. We'll see. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that these guys are going to come in and be great. Like, I don't know. I would probably not expect that. I think anyone getting their hopes up should expect those to be dashed a little bit, but I do like the idea of taking flyers on them, and they're low risk, high reward type things, because those guys do have a lot of talent. They just haven't realized it.
And of course, what the blockbuster wasn't Myles Garrett, it wasn't Sauce Gardner, which that's kind of real quick. What's her Christy Ursay, the daughter who's now the manager or GM or owner of the team, sends away 2 first-round draft picks for Sauce Gardner. What? I mean, are the Colts a DB away from winning a Super Bowl? Is that what she's telling the NFL?
No, it's an insane trade for the Colts. I mean, especially and look, I know Daniel Jones has had a good year, but you only trade away 2 first-round picks if you think you're dead set on your quarterback of the future.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, say they can't go into next year and just expect Daniel Jones to answer all the questions. Like, he could be, but if they end up by the middle of next season being like, oh crap, we're back at square one, we need a quarterback again. Well, guess what? You got rid of your first round pick,
Yeah.
and the next one to go get Sauce Gardner. I think it was a look. Sauce Gardner's a great player. I think that's a bad trade for the Colts and a really good trade for the Jets, even though, they'll probably find a way to screw up those 2 draft picks.
And another year of waste. God bless the Jets. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how Jets fans do it year after year. And I was thinking about this, Kyle. When was the last time the New York Jets had not a great, not an average, but a good quarterback? Pennington?
Yeah, and I mean, he's probably slightly above average. They went to the championship game 2 years in a row with Mark Sanchez, but
right,
nobody thinks he's a great quarterback. I don't know. You might have to go back to what was the Jets quarterback in the '90s? They used to go back and forth with Marino.
Well, it was Ken O'Brien for a little bit.
Yeah, but
that's a long time ago, man.
And you might have to go all the way back to Joe freaking Namath, to be honest.
And that might be the root cause of the problems in New York. They just can't seem to figure out a quarterback. Yeah. All right, so here's the big one. Jalen Phillips, the hybrid linebacker, defensive end, whatever, coming from the Miami Dolphins. It cost the Eagles a 3rd-round pick, which they had 3 of them. So they gave up one of those 3rd-round picks. They bring him in, but he's a rental player who does obviously the trade deadline moves is this guy right here. I mean, he's got the most cut. He's not Myles Garrett, obviously, and I don't know if that was really a legitimate thing that the Eagles should have even thought about, but he does come in and provide you something that this team has also sorely missed this year, and is the pass rush. He's a Vic Fangio systems guy, was down there in Miami with him as well. 3rd-round pick for a rental, Kyle Quinn. Is this maybe not an all-in thing with Howie, but is this like pushing half your chips in the table?
I mean, I think it's a win now move, especially if you look at the fact that he's unsigned. He's only 26, right? So you still could sign him, and I believe if he walks, you could recoup a 3rd-round pick back.
In 27.
So you're essentially just getting the rental, and who knows what ends up happening. I like the moves. Like he has a little bit of an injury history, and he's coming off an injury this season. That's why it took him a little bit to get going. He had 3 sacks in his last 5 games, so it looks like he's starting to heat up a little bit. Had the best season of his career under Vic Fangio when he was the defensive coordinator over there. So I think his biggest problem has been finishing, like actually getting the sack. Very high pressure rate, but he didn't really have anybody up the middle in Miami that would cause any sort of disruption for him to be able to finish. Now, good for him. He's getting to hang out with Jalen Carter. And now if you get him and you have Nolan Smith back, who's probably, their most tenacious edge rusher, you start to paint a picture of a pretty decent pass rush, you hope, like if everything starts to come together a little bit. So I'm very happy with the Jalen Phillips move, especially considering what you had to give up.
Now, Nolan Smith's practice window has been opened up. He's starting to work his way back from that injury. Jalen Phillips, Nolan Smith are both left side edge rushers. Who do you think switches?
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good question. I'm not sure. Maybe they rotate them a little bit. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you which guy's more versatile on going on the other side. Maybe Phillips, just because Nolan's a little younger. I'm not sure, but it's a good question.
We'll wait to see how that works itself out. But all that has set the Eagles up for some interesting play as we go down the stretch. But we're going to back it up because we're going to talk about the Giants game. I know this is like ancient history now. Good God, it seems like a million years ago since the last time the Eagles have played a football game. But back 2 weeks ago, the Eagles did beat the Giants 38-20 in probably their most complete game of 2025. Not only complete play, but complete balance in scoring. 21 first half points, 17 second half points. Saquon Barkley and Tank Bigsby leading the way as they both got going with the rush game. Jalen Hurts an effective day with 4 touchdown passes. 38-20 win. But Kyle, is this game, you look at this thing as the Eagles coming out party, so to speak, or is there a little bit of when Cam Scadaboo suffered that horrendous, potentially career-threatening injury, sort of sucked the life right out of the Giants? Kyle, you there? All right.
I got
you. There, Kyle? Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
No, so did you get the question?
So was it more of it was it an Eagles coming out party or what? I missed the last part.
Or was it more of like, was this a demonstration of the Eagles sort of breaking free of 2025? Or how much do you kind of factor in that the Giants might have been just all the life was sucked out of them with the Cam Scatterboo injury? I mean, it was a pretty back and forth game before that injury.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. Look, it's easy to say like, you congrats, you beat up on the Giants. Giants just kicked this team's ass 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
So I do think it was a big deal that they won that game. And look, we talked about the 2023 comparison about how, in 2023 the Eagles couldn't pull away from bad teams. Well, guess what? They pulled away from a bad team. That's what elite football teams do, is they kick bad teams' asses. And I think to your question, what leads me to believe that this might have been a little bit of a coming out party was the fact that you mentioned Saquon Barkley in the run game getting going a little bit. And it's not just that Saquon got going. I think the Eagles sort of schemed the run game to work finally. The 6-0 lineman thing that they've been doing the last 2 weeks really seems to have been working. And it feels like Kevin Patullo almost found a little bit of a groove. I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. A little bit of a groove as the Eagles play caller. So it was good to see not only Saquon get going, but Tank Bigsby looked like he's now your second running back, and maybe not a complete and utter waste of a trade there. But I do love the fact that the Eagles running game got going. That was sort of the one missing piece, I think, or the link that was broken between this team and last year's team, the offense. They couldn't get the run game going. The Eagles' bread and butter for years under Nick Sirianni has been the run game. It starts with the run game, and we twisted ourselves in a pretzel saying, is it time to become a pass-first offense? Didn't look like it. It looks like now if we can start relying on this run game a little bit more and they can keep getting more creative and scheming that rushing game, then, we could definitely see the Eagles start going on a run here. That's going to be big for them.
Barkley had 14 carries for 150 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Hurts, very effective, 179 yards on 15 of 20 passing and four touchdown passes. Let's turn the conversation back to Jalen. The offense was not addressed at all during the trade deadline. We're not, obviously, they're feeling good with, and I'm not saying they had to go out and replace, the receivers or the running backs. Offensive line is still clipped up a bit. Definitely needed that bye week to come for them. But Jalen had a very effective afternoon. I got to give the credit when the credit's due. But offensively, again, it's no secret, as you said, and I said, it's about the running game. Are you okay with the offense not bringing in another offensive lineman or maybe another tight end to try to kind of solidify things?
So I would have liked to have seen them go maybe do a depth piece on the O-line or maybe a tight end, like a guy who can come in and back up if Goddard gets injured that can block, because Grant Calcaterra can't block a nosebleed. So I would have liked to have seen that. Other than that, I don't really know what other areas they can address. And the offensive lineman, like the O-line thing, I think is a matter of these guys starting to play better because they can, not a matter of replacing one guy and getting a guy who's going to come in and then throw off the whole, you're going to have to shake up the O-line again, basically, just to get these guys to start gelling again. So the O-line's probably still just a matter of time type thing. A depth guy that can come in and back up if they need to, so they don't have to throw Matt Pryor in there, maybe. But Fred Johnson's looks like he's in the mix a little bit more now. And if they do the 6-0 lineman thing and like Brett Toth picked up his game a little bit, you get Cam Jurgens back, they'll look like they'll be in pretty good shape.
Birds Blast stat pack from this game. Eagles 3 for 3 in that red zone. Very effective. Once again, they're continuing to really ride that. When they are in the red zone, they're pretty much a lock. 17 for 20 now on the season, 85%. As I mentioned, very balanced scoring in this game. Probably the most balanced scoring I've seen in a long time. 21 first half points, 17 second half points for the Eagles. Still, though, only averaging slightly above 10 points per second half. That's something they're going to have to really kind of get going here in the second half of the season. They committed 5 more penalties for 30 yards, 54 now for 386 on the season. No turnovers forced, Kyle Quinn. 7 now on the year. Less than 1 a game. We said this earlier in the season, and the way the defense kind of started the year, it was almost like they just kind of picked up where they left off. Things have dried up for that defense when it comes to forcing turnovers, and that's a huge recipe for the success of this football team. Go back and watch the tape. They pretty much ran the turnovers to a Super Bowl championship last year. We're going into week 10, Kyle, with 7. Where do you stand on that? What's happened to the turnovers? Why have they disappeared?
I mean, I'm not sure they disappeared. They didn't get any last week, but the week before they had 2 interceptions off Carson Wentz, right? One of them was a pick 6. They come in bunches, right? and hopefully, if they're going through a little bit of a dry spell like you think they are, I really don't. You hope that they just they start to get more toward the end of the season. Like they're sort of like a I don't know. You have guys that have a knack for making plays and punching the ball out and stuff, but a lot of those things are luck, the ball bouncing your way, circumstantial stuff like that. I wish they had more. I hope that they continue to have more, and get that average up to 1 a game. That'll help them a lot. But like, here's the other thing about it, and I think this goes a little bit ignored, at least by us, because we talk about the passing offense being brutal, and we talk about forcing turnovers on defense. It does help when your offense does not turn the ball over, right? Because the turnover thing is winning the turnover battle. You can win games going 0-0 as long as you have the 0. You don't want to win games going 0-1. You can win games going 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. But 0-0 is like, you can live like that in some games. So it's a really huge part of our success that we also don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, right. Again, the Eagles did not commit any turnovers against the Giants. They have now committed 3 turnovers, 3 through 8 games. That's amazing. That's a great number. I love that. That's hovering down like 0.3 a game. I don't, it's down to 0, like almost to 0.
Yep.
You can't ask for anything better than that. As you mentioned, there is a double side to that coin, especially if you're not committing them or if you're not forcing them, then you sure as hell better not be committing them. And the Eagles are not. They did get to Jackson Dart 4 times in this game for 28 yards, 25 sacks now on the season. Pretty good sign there. I don't know. I mean, again, it's hard for me to sit here and judge the Eagles' success or dominance against a team like the Giants. Jackson Dart could have been thrown to me and you out there. They were at pretty much at that level of trying to find some more help there. He's running for his life back there. So the pass rush has been sort of under attack all season, i.e. that's why we made all these additions in the defense. How important do you think going down the stretch of this? We don't have the most mobile quarterbacks left on our schedule, but we definitely have fast, get the ball out of your hand type guys. How important is it for the Eagles to get this pass attack or pass rush under control?
Well, yeah, I just like they need to just be better, right? They need to be able to get sacks when they're there for them. I do expect it to pick up a little bit, but you're right. Like, the Giants are a total mess. Their season's down the drain. Their head coach is crying at the press conference. Like, things are a disaster for the New York Giants right now. So it's tough to measure the defensive line success against the Giants. But I have seen Eagles pass rushes in the past that have stunk so bad that they couldn't even take advantage of the worst offensive lines in the league. So you do like to see that, right? If you're not going to face a good offensive line every week, they can take advantage of a bad O-line, and that could be the reason that a game's flipped towards us. Then you take it. But look, I hope, and the goal here is that with the Jalen Phillips thing, throw Brandon Graham in the fold, and now Nolan Smith hopefully working his way back, that the pass rush not only just is a little bit better, but becomes a strength for you. Like they need something on the defense to be a legitimate strength for them. And I don't think it's going to come from the secondary. So the linebackers are a strength, but the linebackers behind a really solid defensive line would be just massive for this defense.
And they were 2 for 2 on 4th down effectiveness, 11-14 on the year, 79% about on or about that number. And that's how you get 38-20 Eagles. And the Kyle and me both had the Eagles in this football game. I had the Eagles winning 38 to did I guess it right on? No. 31-20 was my prediction. And you went with 28-13. We both went with Jalen Hurts for a game MVP. I know he threw for 4 touchdowns, Kyle, but how do you I got to give it to Saquon.
Saquon needed a win. I think we gave it to Jalen the week before against Minnesota. I think for having the perfect passer rating, you could probably do that. So give Saquon the win.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're gonna go with Saquon on this one. Again, 4-4, both me and Kyle so far picking these games. Neither one of us has correctly picked the game MVP yet this season, so that's something we got to strive for in the second half. Kyle Quinn. But let's throw that one away because finally it's time to talk about an actual football game coming up. Eagles Packers on Monday night in frigid Lambeau Field. Kyle, temperatures expected to drop into the 20s. I heard maybe some snow might be in the forecast. I know it's not going to be a blizzard or anything like that. You think that's going to – Eagles really haven't been tested yet in the cold. I don't really take much of that into consideration when, it's the Eagles. They're not the Buccaneers, right?
Yeah. Look, the cold's one thing. It's only going to be like 20 degrees or something like that. So we're not dealing with minus temperatures and stuff. It's a mild November night for Lambeau Field. So.
It's seasonable. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be in November. All right. Gridiron Database is reporting that the Eagles are going to go with the black helmets, white tops, and black pants. Packers going with their traditional green and yellow, disgusting ensemble there that they typically wear for home games. Injury report. I have not seen anything from either team updating the injury situation, but from the Eagles standpoint, we do know about some of these injuries from that lingered from the Giants game. AJ Brown with the hamstring. Saquon came out of that game kind of gimpy a little bit with a hamstring. Of course, Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson have been suffering all season. And now Nolan Smith, as I mentioned, his practice window has been opened up. Again, I have not seen an injury report on this game at all yet, but Kyle, AJ, Saquon, let's talk about the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is all but one players on the offense. And do you expect most of these injuries to sort of resolve themselves during this bye week?
Yeah, so I didn't see the official report either, but from what I gathered, Saquon and AJ, and I believe Adoree Jackson practiced in some capacity, not sure whether it was limited or full, and Cam Jurgens didn't practice at all. So, they do have an extra day here since it's Monday Night Football. So we'll see. I'm not really sure if you can glean anything from their statuses today, but it was a good sign that AJ and Saquon both practiced today.
On the Packers side, again, nothing official for this game, but this is some of the injuries they're dealing with. Nate Hobbs, the DB, has got a problem. He's been dealing with an MCL sprain. He's expected to miss the next 2 weeks, so he's probably going to be out in this game. Savon Williams, the rookie receiver, has not been. He was sort of in and out. He was spotted at practice, but did not participate. Luke Van Ness, the DN, was held out from practice today. He's missed the last 3 games with a foot injury. And Daltavian Wicks, another receiver, has also missed the last 2 games with a calf injury as he's trying to work his way back. And Matthew Golden, another wide receiver, is also dealing with got hurt in the last game with a shoulder problem, and he's sort of a day-to-day type situation too. Mm-hmm. Look a little concerning if you're a Packers fan when it comes to your wide receiver core, as they seem to all be clipped up. Does the injury? How do you weigh the scales of justice on the injuries here? Who's it favor or doesn't favor anybody?
Well, so I mean, I'll say the big one for the Packers is the guy that just went to IR, Tucker Kraft, their tight end. He's been having the best season of maybe any of the receivers on that team, and their receiver group is already pretty thin as it is in terms of like talent. And so he's done for the year, even though Romeo Doubs said that he's in a better place now. He did not die. He just went to the IR. But he's going to miss this game, and that's pretty big, right? Because he's their best pass catcher out there. I would say the Packers look like they're a little bit more, they're banged up, and the Eagles look like coming off the bye week that they're freshening up a little bit.
And the Eagles, of course, are coming off the bye, and the Packers are not. They went out and lost to the Carolina Panthers last week, so that might have also something to do with it. But with all that being said, Kyle Quinn, Monday night under the big bright lights of Green Bay and downtown Milwaukee, wherever the hell Green Bay is located at in the Wisconsin metropolitan area. Eagles Packers will get it going on Monday Night Football. What do you see is going to happen at Lambeau Field?
So I know there's sentiment out there that, and I was sort of with this, I think it'd be better for the Eagles had Green Bay Packers just rolled all over the Carolina Panthers. Now they're coming into Monday night off of a loss, and you don't want them to be desperate in a big NFC matchup. Dropping 2 games in a row would not be good for them, especially to 2 NFC opponents. I just don't think the Packers are like that good. I never really did before the season started. I know they got a lot of hype once they traded for Parsons, and they rolled the Detroit Lions, I believe, in week 1, and everyone was all packered up. I was never really all packered up. I don't think Jordan Love's that good. And I don't think the Green Bay Packers are that good. I think the Eagles are a better team. Now, going on the road's a little bit tough. I do find it interesting that the Eagles are underdogs in the game. But it's not completely crazy to be plus 2.5 on the road against Green Bay. I think it's going to be a close game. But like I said, I'm just not really that afraid of the Packers. I think the Eagles go in there as the better team, and I think they leave there as a better team.
With that being said, we'll give you some key matchups that you're looking at on Monday night in this game.
All right, so I'm going to we'll go with the Packers wide receivers versus the Eagles corners. Both units pretty shaky. I'm very curious to see what Jair Alexander might look like if they do move Cooper DeJean outside, if Michael Carter gets to play. But that's a matchup that I think the Eagles should be able to win. But just curious to see some of the new faces in that defensive backfield versus some of those Packers wide receivers. And then we're going to go into the trenches for both these other ones. Again, curious to see what Jalen Phillips looked like. If Nolan Smith does come back, not sure on that one, but I am curious to see what this Eagles pass rush looks like against the Packers offensive line. And then I'm also curious to see what the Eagles offensive line, which has been a shaky group too, looks like versus against the Packers. I know we've handled Micah Parsons pretty well in the past, but that's another one that I think everyone should be keeping an eye on here. If they're able to do that again, if they're able to contain Micah Parsons, then Hurt should have plenty of time to start dealing there. So we're going to look in the trenches on both sides, and then, but I think especially the big one is to look at what the secondary looks like, at least just to give you more of a glimpse for the future, if anything.
Kyle, I mean, these are exactly the same 3 points that matchups I'm looking at. I worded them a little bit differently, but their sentiment's the exact same thing. The only thing with the Eagles offensive line, I added in keeping Saquon going. Do we build off of the rushing yardage that we got in this last game? Yeah, I mean, you don't got to be a rocket scientist to look at what the key matchups are in this football game, honestly, with all the changes the Eagles went over. But yeah, that's really scary that we really much all three of them are the same. All right, Eagles keys to victory there, Kyle Quinn.
Yeah. So the first one is going to be make Jordan Love playoff script. I mean, like I said, I'm not a big Jordan Love believer. He throws off his back foot all the freaking time, does not get set to throw. And when he's running around with his hair on fire back in that backfield, I just saw him throw maybe one of the worst and biggest head scratcher of an interception last week against the Packers, where he ran both ways across the field and then heaved it all the way across the other side of the field into an area of the end zone where nobody on his team was. And the Packers were just there to pretty much catch a punt. Jordan Love will do that. He'll offer you up some meatballs there if you make him go off script. So if they can get Jordan Love off his spot, they can get in the backfield pretty quickly. I think that'll be pretty big for them. The other one, I'll say, win the turnover battle. That's been the Eagles' bread and butter for a few years now. It's how they won the Super Bowl last year. You and I just talked about it ad nauseum. And if the Eagles can continue to not turn the ball over, and if they can force a Packers turnover, I don't think they fumble the ball very much. But if we can find a way to poke the ball out, that would be good. And then if you can do that with Jordan Love, that's another good one. And then here's another one I'll give you for the last one. Get off the field on third down as a defense. I think the Packers are the second in the league in third down conversions as an offense, right behind maybe LA. So third downs is big. If you can get Green Bay off the field, then that's going to be huge. So the third down conversions, make sure the Packers don't continue that this week.
The Eagles defense have forced 6 turnovers against the Packers over their past 2 meetings. Four turnovers back in the playoff game, and then 2 turnovers at the opening in Brazil last year. So that's going in a good direction to kind of keep that going. My 3 keys to the Eagle victory: keep up that second half intensity, man. That was the biggest thing I saw out of that Giants game, was they came out and they just kept the pedal to the metal in the second half, and they continued to move the ball very effectively. And again, they got the Bam rushing attack going, and if they can get that going, there's not too many teams out there that are going to stick with the Eagles. Really, to me, always it comes down to that. But keep up that second half intensity. And yeah, I want to see some turnovers. I am concerned that they're not getting as many turnovers, and it's sort of dried up. I think it has dried up, and I'm concerned about that. Again, I kept a very close eye. They went crazy with turnovers, and it was a huge reason why they won the Super Bowl. And I need to start seeing some turnovers. I don't know, like 5 a game. I'm not asking for that, but 2, I ain't too much to ask. And then just make Jordan Love uncomfortable. Whatever you're going to do, as you mentioned, he's just really unpredictable, and he's not really that good. He's average. Well, make him play average, man. Get him, make him throw off that back foot and get him uncomfortable.
Yep. And I like the word you used in the first key there, intensity. The Packers are not a very tough team. I kind of think they're soft, and they take their cues from their head coach. And one of the Eagles' MOs last year was being tough. I mean, they were the tougher team. They were the tougher team in the Super Bowl, and we all saw that. Like the Eagles, when they know that they're the more tough team, then they're going to go out there and they're going to kick your ass. So they got to go in there thinking that they're the tougher and the better team in Green Bay.
All right, with all that, with the black helmets and the black pants, 20 degrees in Lambeau, 4 new players on the Eagles defense. What's Kyle Quinn think going to give me a score, a winner, and a game MVP?
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, but doesn't have to be. The Packers are still one of the, by record, one of the top teams in the NFC. Or going on the road, like I just said, they're coming off of a loss where they're going to be a little bit desperate. It's prime time. So it's going to be a little bit of a knockdown drag out, but that's okay. I got the Eagles winning 24-20, And I like riding the Saquon wave here. I think the running game might have found something a little bit, and I think they're going to keep that going. So give me Saquon Barkley.
24-20 Eagles, and Saquon is your choice for game MVP. I'm going 28-21 Packers. Not that I really believe that's going to happen. I could see it definitely going the other way. But I'm going to go with 28-21 Packers, and I got Jordan Love. Because of everything that we've talked about, I can definitely see them doing the opposite, because I am not yet a believer that the Eagles have found their mojo. And I think coming off the bye might be a little bit more of a distraction to them, as they're going to get it restarted. Now you incorporate 4 new players into that defense. There might be some miscommunications. There might be some blown assignments. There might be some issues but again, it's going to be a back and forth type of game. I don't see anybody blowing anybody out. I think Jordan Love is the answer down the stretch for the Packers, and I think they win this game 28-21.
I mean, look, they need one, I think, out of the next 2, Green Bay and Detroit, for me to feel good. Now, I'll tell you what, though, if they do go in there and they go beat Green Bay, a lot of Eagles fans are going to be pretty eagled up this week. That'll be a good win for them.
No, but I get that. And I'm not, as I said, I don't think Green Bay's that good either. I think they're definitely
the Eagles are underdogs
team.
So you're not crazy. Like the Eagles are underdogs in the game.
Yeah, I know. That's interesting.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, we've reached the point of the show where we do the question of the week. This is the opportunity I have to pick Kyle's brain. I lock myself into a room for days on end, and I come up with the best possible question that I can. And this week's question of the week, 4 players were added, 3 through trade, 1 through Lazarus rising from the dead, and the Eagles added 4 new defensive players to the mix. There's been a lot of how he's a genius for pivoting and learning from his mistakes, blah, 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 blah. I've heard people tell me that the Eagles have won the trade deadline battle. What the hell are you talking about? No one's played a single snap in Midnight Green. Question to you, Kyle, and I mentioned it earlier in the show. Are you ready to admit Howie's offseason plan was wrong and it failed?
That his offseason plan was wrong?
Yep, his defensive offseason plan was wrong and it failed.
Well, and so I would say it failed. Was it wrong is a little bit of a different question, though. Because
semantics, you know what I mean.
Well, no, but it's true. Like, because their reasoning for doing some of the things, we might find prove to be the right reasons. Does it mean that the Eagles, are a better team because of it? No, not necessarily this year. Yeah, I mean, I was always kind of with you in the offseason, and that I wish they were able to find a way to keep some of these guys. They let too much walk out the door, and the defense is suffering because of it. So, yeah, I mean, like, I think I'm pretty consistent in my stance that I didn't love the Eagles offseason, but I do love the fact that that they're not willing to double down on the things that they did do wrong. Is I think really my takeaway from the trade deadline.
Now, heading into the start of the season, with all the comp picks from last season, the Eagles ended up picking up a bunch. They had 13 draft picks heading in. They had 13 draft picks for 2026 heading into the season. Down to 8 now. Howie's moved off some, I think, 9 trades since training camp. Howie's made, which is unprecedented. I don't even remember a year that number was anywhere close to that before. And they also picked up those 4 at the trade deadline. No defending Super Bowl champion in the history of the NFL has ever added 4 players at the trade deadline before in the same season. I think, Kyle, I think this, you say he's not doubling down. Maybe in your eyes, he's not. I think he's running scared a little bit. He's not pulling off 2 first-round draft picks for Sauce Gardner type stuff. But I honestly think he's feeling the heat a little bit about not missing an opportunity to repeat as Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think he's been I think his messaging from the beginning of the offseason was he started off his end of season press conference with this thing's going to look a little bit different. And look, to your point about the draft picks, they went from 13 to 8. Fine. Like, you're a team that's in this window. They're the second youngest team by average age in the NFL. I mean, at a certain point, you push the chips in and you go for it. And he'd said that, he has these draft picks. Again, this is another thing that his messaging was very clear on in the offseason. We have all these draft picks and we're not going to use them all. Like, we're to draft players. Like, we're going to use them to try to improve the team this season. So, I'm in wait and see mode with what some of these trade deadline additions look like. But yeah, ultimately, I think, like I said, if you're 6-2, you address needs at the trade deadline, and you're the current number 1 seed in the NFC, you got to feel pretty good about it.
Is there any one out of these 4 players that you look at as we could be sitting here in February and saying this was the reason why we won the Super Bowl, Or are these guys just solid rotational depth guys with some upside?
Well, Jalen Phillips could be. I mean, he
Yeah.
could change what the defensive line looks like. Jalen
Yeah.
Phillips, and I think he could. I mean, he's barring injury, any of that stuff, but he's a unit changing defensive player, especially when you pair him up with some of the other guys.
I've got a comment. Kyle, are you okay? You look tired. You working too much, man? I mean, you got your fans out there. They're concerned.
I guess I got a little eye bag action going on here.
I think you look fine.
I'm not no less beautiful than always. So
that's what I want to. I want to field questions on the quintessential Eagle pregame show about Kyle Quinn's appearance. That's exactly
thanks a lot.
The narrative I'm driving on this show. But
appreciate you looking out for my well-being, though.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'll give you that. But all right, Kyle, we reached the end. But before I let you go, please tell the folks out there where they can find you.
Yep. So as that commenter just referenced, working a lot on WIP from 10 to 2 every Monday through Friday. That's 94.1, a limited day show with Joe and Hugh, and then on Twitter @_Kyle_Quinn.
We all love you, Kyle Quinn. Doesn't matter what you look like. Matter of fact, you look fine, Kyle. Kyle, you're a handsome young man. You got a lot going for you. You got a good personality. You're a catch, Kyle Quinn. I'm here to tell you that. Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, Kyle. We'll talk next week when we get the opportunity to break down this Packer game and look ahead of which could be the best game so far on any Sunday, any week. I mean, rivaling Chiefs Bills good. We got the Lions finally after all this time. The Lions will come to Philadelphia, and we're going to see some good football, I think, in that game. So I can't wait for that.
Yep, chance to get a statement win here, Matt. So let's keep it rolling.
Absolutely. All right, Kyle. We'll talk next week, man.
All right, man. Thanks, dude.
All right, go Birds. Kyle Quinn on the call. That's good stuff, man. I love Kyle. I love Kyle too. What's that? What is his name? Stelio Contos. I love Kyle too. Stelio, whatever you say it. But that was Kyle Quinn. And again, I want to quantify my comment about the Eagles. I can definitely see them winning this football game, but I look at this thing from a different side, man. I think Howie is running scared, man. I think 4 players at the trade deadline, as unprecedented as it is for a defending Super Bowl champion to go after these types of players or this quantity. The quality might also not be where it needs to be, in my opinion. So we'll wait and see. But I think there's a little bit of an air of desperation floating around down there in South Philly. And I think they're really getting a little concerned about certain positions on this team. So I could definitely see the Eagles winning this game, but I could also see the Packers taking this one as well. So that's why I went with the Eagles. But good stuff from Kyle, as always. Great to be back on the Birds Blast. We had a little bit of a mini, bigger bye, like a 2-week bye. We didn't do a show last time, and then we had the bye week. So, but hopefully we'll roll it down the stretch here. All right, let's go now talk about my picks. This is my pick segment. This is where we talk about how I did in week 9. I've been picking these games since the beginning of the season. 10-4 in week 9. Really good week. Another good week for me. Third or fourth straight week in a row, I've had double-digit wins. Yep, 4th straight week in a row, I've had double-digit wins. So now I am up to 87-45 on the season. My week 10 picks, again, I got the Packers winning this game, the Monday Nighter. Tonight, I got LA, Denver, Vegas, Denver. I'm going to go with the Broncos. Then give me Atlanta and Indy. Give me Indy. Giants and Bears. Give me the Bears. Buffalo and Miami. Give me Buffalo. Baltimore, Minnesota. Give me Baltimore. Cleveland and the Jets. I'm taking Cleveland. Patriots and the Bucks. Give me the Bucks. The Saints and Carolina. Give me Carolina. Jacksonville and Houston. I'm going Jacksonville. Arizona, Seattle. Give me Seattle. The Rams versus the 49ers. Give me the Rams. Detroit, Washington. I'm going with Detroit. And that was Sunday night. And then Sunday night's game. Give me Pittsburgh Chargers. I'm taking the Chargers in that game as well. So there you have my picks for week 10. As we're week 10, man. Good God. Week friggin' 10. One question I did not ask Kyle that I wanted to, and I totally forgot to ask him. And I'll ask you guys this, or I'll make the point here. 6-2, 8 weeks or 8 games down. If the Eagles, and if things kind of go the way everybody thinks they're going to go, the Eagles will probably get that number 1 or number 2 seed, which will give them a first round bye. So They played 8 games, but in order to get to the Super Bowl, not win it, but to get to the Super Bowl, they got to play 11 more games. So they got to play more games than they've already played. They were pretty dinged up in the first half when it came to injuries. Now you're going to throw in another long stretch of games, 11 of them. I think they got to go at least another 8 weeks or so before the next bye, if they get a first-round bye in the playoffs. I am concerned about this team's depth. I'm concerned about their overall health. That was something that was not a problem last year. We had really no health issues, no injury problems, major. And then we also had a lot more depth, I think. But I'm a little concerned about those two factors heading down the stretch with, again, 11 more games still left to play just to get to the Super Bowl. And so you would factor in that 12th game to win the Super Bowl. So the season is we still got a bunch of the season ahead of us, even though it seems like it's just about over with. We still got a lot of good football ahead and a lot of good, meaningful football, because this is when it starts right now at this stage of the season. Post-trade deadline, this is where the contenders are the contenders and the pretenders have gone home. So now we're going to hopefully get to see some really good football. And we'll be here on the Birds Blast to cover it, and also on the It's a Wrap Sports Network to cover it as well. Tonight, here's our schedule. The Gridiron Weekly at 8. I'll be back at the Final Word at 9. And then right after me will be the Flyers Predators Clear the Ice Flyer postgame. And that is your Thursday night in a glance on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. So make sure you're checking us out for the rest of the night. Till I see you guys again at 9 o'clock. Take care. Have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you later.